Welcome to Texas Border Watch, your eyes on the front line for all things immigration, border security, and local policy. I'm Jordan Elder. This week, Governor Greg Abbott announced that 400 Texas National Guardsmen have been federalized and are being sent out of Texas. He says that they're going to be safeguarding ICE and other federal agents in cities across America. And this is a big deal here in Texas because the National Guard has had a very heavy presence at the Texas border. They've been helping other federal officials detain and deter people who are trying to cross the border illegally. So here's what we know so far. We know that Texas National Guardsmen have landed in Chicago in the last few days. We know that that's about 200. We don't know at this point if any are going to be sent to Portland. So we spoke with a couple different experts about what this deployment means, the legalities of it all, and what we could potentially see in court, and the potential actions we could see these National Guardsmen take in Chicago and then potentially in Portland as well. Texas National Guard members arriving and unloading in Chicago in a move experts say is unusual but not unprecedented.
If we see National Guard units activated and going elsewhere into other states, it's primarily for natural disasters.
It's very rare that you're going to federalize the National Guard to deal with an insurrection. So President Trump is really stretching the envelope.
On Hannity, Governor Greg Abbott describes what these guardsmen will be doing.
Where they will be able to safeguard ICE officials and other federal officials as they try to enforce the laws of the United States of America.
Leading to a clash with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who says there's no invasion or insurrection in Chicago.
I have called upon Governor Abbott to immediately withdraw his support for this decision and refuse to allow Texas National Guard members to be used in this way.
One governor says the National Guard is being used as a pawn. The other says the president must ensure laws are enforced, and Texas is assisting with that. The president has hinted at invoking the Insurrection Act, which would allow him to use U.S. troops on U.S. soil when chaos breaks out.
And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple.
The Insurrection Act was a hot topic in Texas last year. There were calls for former President Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard to get access to Shelby Park along the border. At the time, then Governor Kristi Noem posted, if Joe Biden federalizes the National Guard, that would be a direct attack on states' rights. What is different about that situation and the one that we're currently in?
When the shoe is on the other foot, it seems all of a sudden that, all of a sudden people become constitutional experts and become somehow enamored with the idea of states' rights and state sovereignty.
That act can only be invoked under specific emergency circumstances.
So ultimately, how bad does the violence have to be considered an insurrection is really the question.
Some Democratic lawmakers have told Governor Greg Abbott that they don't agree with the precedent that this sets. In a letter, they tell him Texans would oppose any other state that deployed military forces into our cities without our consent. If any other state deployed their National Guard to Texas without our consent, we would call that an invasion of Texas. So far, they say the governor hasn't responded to this letter yet. Now, some of the legislation that we have seen brought up a lot these last few days is the Insurrection Act, which allows the president to deploy U.S. troops on U.S. soil to deal with conflict. This has been invoked before, but not for a very long time. The president has hinted that this is something he might use, but nothing concrete yet. And then the Posse Comitatus Act generally prevents the president from using the military like a domestic police force. So as you can see, these two are kind of conflicting, so any use of them could end up to a pretty long, drawn-out court battle. So we will keep you updated on what we see in terms of all this. The federal government is offering unaccompanied minors up to $2,500 to self-deport and go back to their home countries. This would apply to children ages 14 and up. This might sound familiar because DHS rolled out a program a little bit earlier this year that allowed adult migrants to self-deport if they chose to do so. The Department of Health and Human Services sent a memo about this, and it was obtained by NBC News. The agency says it's already identified unaccompanied children who have said they want to file or who will file for voluntary departure. So no word on exactly how many that is, but as of August, the federal government had 2,011 unaccompanied minor children in its custody, according to the website. Now, in order for the teens to be able to get this money, the note says that they would need to have an immigration judge grant their request to return to their home country. They would need to physically leave, be in the home country, and then at that point they would be able to get the $2,500. Smugglers are attempting to get more cocaine into the United States of America, and a lot of those attempts are happening right here in Texas. The term cocaine cowboys was really popular in the 70s and in the 80s, and law enforcement officials say they're seeing this same idea with some more modern methods these days. Yami Virhan reports from the border.
It's a surge most people were not expecting, but law enforcement was waiting for it. Just in the last few weeks, cocaine has surfaced across South Texas highways, neighborhoods,
Get down!
and the Rio Grande riverbanks. Starr County DPS troopers spotted 4 men in camouflage crossing the Rio Grande. They dropped their backpacks and took off back into Mexico. Texas troopers found 69 pounds of cocaine worth more than $2.2 million. Webb County DPS stopped a Dodge Challenger and found 25 pounds of cocaine worth $150,000. And just recently, New Braunfels, officers stopped a pickup truck on I-35. A Seguin K-9 unit hit the jackpot, finding 44 pounds hidden in the floorboard. Street value, $1 million. 3 seizures out of many that investigators say highlight a bigger shift.
For that seizure that we got of 69 pounds of cocaine through the river, right? That's something we don't generally see.
Sergeant Eric Estrada is with the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Multiple subjects running behind property with them.
He says for years, migrant smuggling brought cartels billions, but with fewer crossings, criminal organizations are looking for other ways to generate cash.
Now they're desperate, right? They're looking for other avenues to get money, right? And so this is one of the ways that they're getting money is through the smuggling of drugs.
If we caught 64 kilos, then there's a whole lot more than what we've caught. We generally catch about 2% of everything that crosses the border. So, the price of cocaine on the street is extremely low, which tells you the supply is big. And cocaine is definitely back as a party drug.
The shift now is a reminder of another era, the cocaine cowboys of the 1970s and 80s. Traffickers used small planes to ferry loads to ranch airstrips in Florida and Texas.
So the term cocaine cowboys came from the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Very small aircraft going in and picking up significant amounts, big, pretty good sized loads, especially for cocaine, and flying them into airstrips, like a private dirt airstrip.
He's got a duffel bag, he's throwing it in the grass.
Retired DEA special agent in charge, Tony Hubbard, spent decades investigating cartels. He says the parallels to the past are striking. Hubbard told us we're seeing the same patterns as the 1980s, but today's cartels have better technology, more money, and faster routes. It's cocaine cowboys with 21st century tools.
Another thing that we're starting to see here in Laredo is the use of drone technology, especially in the Mexico side. What they're starting to do is they're starting to launch these drones, and they're pretty much getting a location of not only federal agents, but also DPS troopers that are working in collaboration with them during Operation Lone Star.
I do believe it is the return of the cocaine cowboys.
Law enforcement calls it an old revenue stream revived as human smuggling slows down. With street prices dropping, experts say more cocaine is making its way into U.S. communities.
They have that advantage, right, where they could fly over us, pinpoint our locations faster, kind of build a map of where every DPS trooper is at and every other federal agencies that are assisting us during Operation Lone Star are.
Driscoll says in the 80s, authorities relied on aerostats, blimp-like devices that could track low-flying planes. A critical one in Eagle Pass, Texas, was never replaced after storms took it down, leaving the sky open.
The plan was to build a robust, layered missile defense system, and they were put up for the cocaine cowboys, and now they're back. So we've got a big problem.
Driscoll tells us that today, the valley near McAllen reports about 1,200 drone hits a day, many operated by cartels to move drugs.
I think we're going to see a lot more air traffic. We're going to see the small airplanes coming back, the jets that can get past some of the radar technology that we have out there.
What once seemed like a chapter from the past is now being rewritten along the border with billions in drug money at stake.
That's all for this week's Texas Border Watch, your eyes on the front lines. You can read more about any of these stories more in depth on our websites, news4sanantonio.com or foxsanantonio.com. We'll see you next week.